first, thank you for bearing with me as I work through these technical difficulties. But welcome to the #1 college football show. I am RJ Young. We go live on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Sundays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also want to get into a lot that's going on here. Big game for the nation, big game for me, big game for, well, the SEC. Number 6, Tennessee, coming to number 15, Oklahoma. I don't feel good about it. We will talk about why. We also got one hell of a rundown here today because, well, Arch Mania is very much here. I also want to get into what this means for Quinn Ewers, whether or not he's a first-round draft pick. I want to talk a little bit about Wake Forest pulling the rug out from under Mississippi, which wouldn't make them the first, to pull the rug out from under the state of Mississippi, but the way in which they did it was kind of classless, and I'm going to get into that and why I think that's important. Nebraska fans, you have a legitimate college football playoff contender. You can be happy about that. Some folks don't want to be happy about that, and I realize that some folks just don't want to get built up so they can get their hopes crushed, but that's not the kind of show that I like to do. You know what I'm saying? I like to talk about what is you're undefeated. Why are we talking about what might or might not happen, given what could happen on Friday night? I want to talk about how the math ain't mathin'. Philip Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. I think you understand what I'm getting at here. Steve Spurrier is weighing in on what's wrong with Michigan. And, goodness me, Michigan finally signed Sharon Moore to a contract. What's in it? What does it say about, stealing, whatnot? Once again, I want to thank y'all for joining me here. It's really that much fun for me to do the live shows 3 times a week. I really enjoy doing them. Even when we got some technical difficulties, still some things that I'm working out. Frankly, just then, man, I hit the mute button. And I don't know why you or me, and you talk as much as I do, and you go hit the mute button. But before we get started with the college football talk, dog, did y'all see what Jalen Reagor had a nerve to post on his IG story? I just want to hit this right quick because Jalen Reagor played at Texas Christian. When Jalen Reagor was drafted in the first round by the Philadelphia Eagles, the rest of us was like, wait, what? Why? What don't we know? What do you know that we don't know? Because we've been watching Jalen Reagor play football for the past 4 years and we ain't seen it. We seen his movies. We assumed you had seen his movies. What is with this? Now, every once in a while, they're able to do something that really, in the NFL, I should say, in the first round, kind of has me scratching my head. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. Like that Bo Nix thing with the Broncos. Hey, dog, it's kind of like the Jaden Daniels thing. I don't know why Bo Nix turned into Superman in Oregon, but I'd seen enough of his movies at Auburn to be like, this thing that happened in Denver, we could have told y'all that was going to happen. Because we've been seeing this man play for the last 6 years. Why are you taking him in the first round? And then I'm looking around and I'm going, wait a second. Wait a second. Jordan Love led FBS in interceptions his last year at Utah State, and you're going to take him as a successor to the Packers? And then, of course, the Packers, they stumped a mud hole on my Dallas Cowboys and walked dry, but that ain't nothing new. Just look at what the Saints did. You can't hurt me. I'm already dead. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. That's how that goes. That's why me and Nebraska, we get along, man. I understand. I'm an Oklahoma fan. I ain't won no championship since I was 13 years old. No championships, none, 0. You cannot hurt me. And yet I still love to talk about this sport that's college football where everybody else can seem to find a way to win. Except me. Except me. Florida State can find a way to win except me. Anyway, what had happened was Jalen Reagor got cut by the New England Patriots. And the hours after he got cut by the New England Patriots, somebody discovered that he had a photo on his IG of a Bugatti Veyron that looked like it was under a carport next to a double wide. And that's no shade to folks at double wides. Like, I'm from that, right? My daddy from Campbellton, Florida. You know what I'm saying? That's not it. But you ain't gonna see no Veyrons underneath no awnings, no carports next to no double wide. If that ain't the most bougie, it be your own people, dog. I'm looking at this and I found myself cackling at this photo because why do you have a $1.2 million vehicle parked underneath the carport with an antenna on the top of it that looked like it can reach Alderaan? I was dying. What are our priorities here, dog? You know what I'm saying? Like, even if that's not his car, even if that's not his house, I don't get the significance except to say maybe underneath all this, he thinks he's the Veyron and they the double wide? Is that what we think? Is that what we think? We think that he the Veyron and they the double wide. Is he the double wide and they the Veyron? You know what I'm saying? Like, most of the casuals is like, you know, that Veyron is just Drake May. And I'm like, I don't even think that's that necessarily that true. But I had to point that out because the NFL acts like college football does not exist. And then they go draft players. And then every now and again, we be like, yeah, you draft the University of Georgia, you probably going to be all right. You draft the University of Alabama, you probably going to be all right. Ohio State, you know, you probably going to be all right. Every now and again, they pull somebody from Texas Christian. They got us going, I don't see it. And then they'll pull somebody from Texas Tech like Jordan Brooks. That's like, oh, yeah, that dude actually was a hitter. You know what I'm saying? They do that all over the map. Marcus Davenport, UTSA, great player. He went in the first round. But every now and again, they just got one that's squirrely. A guy that tested well. A guy that really interviewed well. And I'm like, but we seen his movies. Like, here's one. If you have to play for a 4th and 5th year or 6th year in college football, maybe you not a first-round draft pick because usually the kind of talent, y'all go get it. After year 3, it's yours. It's just gone. No matter what we paying people now, it's just yours and it's just gone. Okay? I need it. I couldn't get over the antenna. We don't live in the antenna age anymore. You know, there are Zoomers that don't know that we can still use antenna to get free TV. See, they hustling backward. That's all right. That's all right. One day y'all gonna get kicked off your daddy insurance and you're gonna have to go out there and live on your own. And you're going to figure out real quick where all the freebies be at. You're going to figure out real quick that it ain't just no thrift shop song to go to Goodwill. That's where the shoes is. That's where the clothes is. You need you a good hoodie. You need you a good jacket. You know what I'm saying? You're going to learn to be shopping for jackets in the summer like the rest of us. You're going to be learning to shop for swim trunks in December. It's coming. Oh, it's coming. Especially if you still got children that have Veyrons next to homes that ain't supposed to have Veyrons. You know what I'm saying? Take that Veyron and put that in a hedge fund. You know what I'm saying? Got this supercar out here. Stupid. All right, I'm going to get up off of my man's right quick. If you like the show, please subscribe to the show. There are 108,000 of us, which is a wild thing. 700,000 people watch this show over the last week. Just wild. Like, that's y'all. That's y'all. That's awesome. I get to be the dude on the microphone. It's a lot of fun. You'll see me in the comments. You come at me acting and crazy in the comments. You come up with the this guy or the this narrative or the media. You gonna catch me in there. That's just how it goes because we family and it's community, right? This is what we do around here. Talk to me like I talk to you. That's all I'm saying. You see me out in the street, say what's up, dap me up. Matter of fact, I went to go pick up Brave from her elementary school. I got dapped up by the gym teacher and I got dapped up by the resource cop. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Say what's up. And they want to talk ball. I want to talk ball. You gonna get the same from me. Because this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So let's start with the big game. And the big game, let's be very frank about this, is Tennessee coming to Oklahoma. What does Tennessee have to do to beat Oklahoma is one thing. What does Tennessee have to be to be a regular season number 1 team in the country is another, and whether or not that's good for them. But off the rip, shout out to Danny White, who's got the timing all the way down on this announcement. They announced at Tennessee that they're adding an additional 10% increase to all ticket sale invoices. What that means is season tickets, single game tickets, no matter what you're doing, it's all going to go up by 10%. And then they're going to add another 4.5% to that 10% for football tickets. Okay, so that's 14.5%, call it 15. That's a high tax. That's a high tax to be going to Neyland to watch Tennessee play football. But also, Tennessee is well and truly back. They're so back that Tennessee fans have become rational. They are no longer irrational. They are rational about what they are and what they can achieve because they're back to where they're supposed to be, right? They're a top 10 program and a legitimate one we believe in, one we think that can sustain being a top 10 program year after year because, quiet as it is kept, Josh Heupel graduated from the University of Oklahoma. Sharon Moore graduated from the University of Oklahoma. I'm pointing that out. Just going to say, everybody want to talk noise about Oklahoma, and then we going to give you your head coach. That's all I'm saying about that. So what Danny White had to say about the ticket increase was, in this era of name, image, and likeness, there has never been a close connection between resources and competitive success. We want to be a leader in college sports. That means we want to be a leader in revenue sharing. They expect to start revenue sharing in 2025, fall 2025, which is great because the House settlement is more or less going to make that necessary if they can ever get that thing signed. Like, it was all ready to get signed, and then the judge was like, I don't like this part. Go back to the drawing board, come back. So I hope this thing gets signed so we can get on with our business and start acting like we should be acting, which is revenue generating, revenue sharing. I find it interesting that the revenue sharing is probably going to go from university to university as opposed to a big college football, say, commission or overarching, entity that might have to negotiate with a players association, because we ain't got no players association and we ain't got no collective bargaining agreement. This is how it's going to have to be. However, Tennessee can do this, and it's one of the few programs, I want to say there are about 15, 20 programs that can do this because Tennessee operates at a profit. $75 million in profit they made in 2023. Revenue was up to $135, and they spent $59 million on expenses. That is called a sustainable business. That is a working business. To your point about what a university and what an athletic department is supposed to do, and they talk about giving scholarships, wait until they got to be dispersing this money out to all of these athletes across all of these programs, and you're really going to have to start pushing football and more football. But you're also going to have to say, hey, we are elite as a rowing team, as a women's soccer team, as a women's softball team. Well, not women's softball, just softball team, baseball. You're going to have to point out all these other ways in which your donor fatigue gets to stay low because you be winning at everything. Now, also, Tennessee is in a great spot to do this because they got the number 6 team in the country. They're on the road this week, so the fan animosity might not be there, right? Then they get a bye, so you get 2 weeks for people to just kind of cool off before you start hitting them up for, so you want to renew your season tickets for next year? And they're coming off of 15 consecutive sellouts and a home attendance of over 700,000 at Tennessee last year. They're averaging about 101,000 people per at Tennessee, right? That means that you're in a good spot, right? They also got a waiting list at Tennessee that's like 15,000 deep, and they sell about 70,000 season tickets every year. It's a really good spot for them. It's a really great spot. I think that with a win against Oklahoma, this becomes old news pretty quickly. That's just how this goes. It becomes really old news really quickly if you can go get a win against Oklahoma. And I got to tell y'all, they are in a better space to get a win against Oklahoma than Oklahoma is to get a win against Tennessee. Okay? I have kind of laid this out, but I will continue to lay this out. I've said this, and I will probably have to say this until I am dead, honestly. I am an OU fan. I've always been an OU fan because you have always been a fan of your team. I don't believe in hiding behind being unbiased because being unbiased is not true. Being fair is true. You can be fair. You can be honorable. You can be authentic. But if Oklahoma wasn't good, I would tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to hide behind any other version of this. You don't have to present yourself as a one-size-fits-all because you are a college football person first, and you got into this not because you like college football, but because you liked a team that became college football. You know what I'm saying? You get in here with Oklahoma, and then you become a lover of this sport. And I'm telling y'all, it's odd to me that I get stuck as the Oklahoma guy when Oklahoma ain't won no championships. You got Alabama fans out here, they don't catch no hell. Ohio State fans don't catch no hell. Florida State fans don't catch no hell. But me, the dude that ain't won no national championships since 2000, I'm the guy. Yeah, all right, sure. That's why I'm talking to you about what Tennessee might get away with against Oklahoma, man, because we got an offensive line issue at the University of Oklahoma. The left side, the center, it's a shambles. It don't look good. It ain't fun. We got a first-year starter that can look like Bambi on ice from time to time and looks quite literally like a deer in the headlights if you send 5. If you send 5 or more, chances are Jackson Arnold's probably going to throw the football where he shouldn't. Probably going to throw the football where he shouldn't, or he's going to take a sack. Do you realize that he is 6 of 16 against pressure? And he's been sacked 6 times, and he's thrown a pick 6, and pick 6 he threw was to Tulane? No disrespect to Tulane. It's a good football program. It's a good football team. But that is the kind of program that an elite SEC team should handle. Tulane pushed Kansas State. Kansas State is not an elite SEC team. Even they wouldn't tell you that, okay? Their way into the college football playoff is winning the conference championship. There might be 4 teams from the SEC this year that make the playoff when there probably should be 5 because that's how deep the league is. Do you realize that 6 of the top 7 in the AP Top 25 are SEC programs? They got 9 of their 16 teams in the top 25. That is a large number. So that is part of it, right? Other part of this is Tennessee has been scoring at will and stopping people. So put it this way. Feels like 2016 Oklahoma, Ohio State to me. And Oklahoma fans be like, RJ, why are you bringing up old stuff? What are you doing, RJ? Look, I'm laying it out. It feels like Austin Kendall talking noise. We ain't done none of that, by the way. Ain't nobody at Oklahoma been doing none of that. Everybody that I've spoken to has acted with a great amount of respect and reverence for Tennessee, the SEC, and the ball game that's going to be played on Saturday night. However, it was 45-24 for a reason. It's 35-21 at halftime. Now, people are going, RJ, the spread is 7. It's not going to be that bad. The spread is 7 because that's about Oklahoma. And by Oklahoma, I mean you, me, this environment that we create. By the way, Tennessee fans, it's a bad look for you to be making fun of the name Palace on the Prairie. Don't do that. We love that. That we don't call it Gaylord Family. We barely call it Memorial Stadium. It's the Palace on the Prairie. Just be respectful on that. That's all. I'm trying to help you out. Because you say that to the wrong Okie, they're not going to, shall we say, treat you with the same sort of courtesy that I would. We really like that. It's on the field. It says 100 years on the Palace on the Prairie. Like you don't play with that. Don't play with that. But that is also a nod to what we will provide at the Palace on the Prairie on Saturday night. It will be full. It will be raucous. We will be felt. We just can't play. Like that's it, right? So if Oklahoma can get into it as a crowd, it's going to be hard on Tennessee to move. It really is. Matter of fact, Josh Heupel made a really great joke because, well, it's a really great joke by Josh Heupel standards. Y'all understand the man is mild-mannered. He doesn't say a whole lot with his chest. But he said, out of respect for me in return, I expect Oklahoma to be quiet. I expect Oklahoma fans to be silent when we're on the field, when the offense is on the field in Tennessee. And I was going to see, he gets it because he understands what the environment is like because he coached in it. 2006, 2014, played in it. He knows how nastily loud it can get, the decibel level. I hope they got Holly Rowe out there with the decibel level monitor, man, because I guarantee you, it's going to be felt. Now, is that going to be enough to stop this high-octane offense? I don't know, dog. Like, Tennessee has scored 35 or more in each of the last 4 games, or should I say every game that Nico Iamaleava has started. The last time that Tennessee was held to below 35 points in a game was a 38-10 stomping that they got from Georgia. Okay? Oklahoma is not Georgia. We know this, but I need to say the quiet part out loud because somebody's going to be like, hey, we are lead on defense. I'm getting to that. Okay? With Nico at quarterback, Tennessee has scored 35, 69, 51, and 71. RJ, in my Phyllis from Moga voice, they ain't played nobody, RJ. I get you. I understand. But being able to score like that is less about being able to move the football and more about being explosive, being able to hit you hard. Now, the knock against Nico Iamaleava is he will, like Jackson, probably throw it where it ain't supposed to go. And I genuinely believe that Venables and Alley will have a little something ready for Josh Heupel and Nico. I think that he's never going to see the same look. I think his pre-snap read is going to be different than his post-snap read. And I think that that defense with Stutzman, with R. Mason Thomas, with Ethan Downs, with Billy Bowman, with Peyton Bowen, they're going to have their opportunities to get takeaways. They are. And I would not be shocked to find out that they get a couple of turnovers in this. But we're going to have to trick Nico and Josh into giving the ball away. Or as my buddy Steve put it, the S word, the bed. Like he's just going to have to play badly. I don't think he will, but that would be one way it has to go. And then OU's defense would probably have to score because, or on top of having to score, you got to get short field if you're Oklahoma on the offense, and you got to get lucky with some explosive touchdowns. And that's a whole lot of, damn, I hope it works out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a great way to try to win a football game, is to try to get your defense to bow up against an offense that has shown you it is explosive and that it's gonna win. That offense is going to win. You're gonna get beat. It's about, can your offense take those third down stops when you get them and turn those into 6? Okay? You can't give the ball away, and you got to score 6 every time you have a possession. And then there's an opportunity there. If it's late and the game is still tight, and it's at Oklahoma, that's a game you can go win. It really is. But again, I point to the offensive line at Oklahoma. If Branson Hickman can play, great. If not, that's going to be tough. But even then, man, you're sending James Pierce and a great defense by Tim Banks after Jackson Arnold. You send 5, I don't think he's going to be able to see it. He just hasn't shown that just yet. However, even if Oklahoma to win this game the way that I drew it up, right, which is defense is playing well, defense gets, let's go, say, a defensive turnover that goes for 6, where it's from a return for touchdown, an interception return for touchdown, and you get short fields for the offense and you get some fluky plays, a win is just going to be that, right? It is not going to convince anybody that Oklahoma is good enough to go win the SEC championship. What I find interesting about that is if Oklahoma were to win this game, we would probably treat Oklahoma like we do Florida State last year. We would not give Oklahoma the same benefit that we give Texas, Ohio State, or Georgia at this instance, right? It would be, okay, let's see you do that the rest of the way. What will be fascinating is if Oklahoma can win, right, beat Tennessee, and let's say get to November with a chance to get into the SEC championship game, would we still be talking about Oklahoma as a program that isn't capable of winning the national championship, let alone the SEC championship? I don't know. I tell you this, man. I would love to see it. I would genuinely love to see it. I think it could be a lot of fun if that were to happen. I also get that it could really help to derail whatever Tennessee thinks they're going to do, but if they can get past Alabama and then Georgia later, it's fine. I think this is a bigger game right now for Oklahoma than it is Tennessee, not just because Oklahoma needs the win, and Oklahoma plays a really tough schedule, but because this is the first game ever in SEC competition for the Sooners, and it is at home, and it is against a favorite son, and it is on national primetime television, the big game of the week. I can't wait for this. This has been circled for quite some time for many of us, and I expect Oklahoma to show up and show out. I just want to see the offense do the same. I realize that I have my misgivings about what Jackson Arnold is capable of, but I was really asking this question in earnest to some folks that I know that are close to the program, in the program, and around the program. Who do you expect outside of Deion Burks to make a play on that offense? And it's guys that we ain't seen. It's Nick Anderson, who we ain't seen play this year. Andrell Anthony, who we ain't seen play this year, right? We know what we got in them from last year. People are trying to get me to get on the Taylor Tatum bandwagon, and I'm going, he can't pass block, or at least he hasn't shown me he can pass block. I can't have you out there if you are not a threat to tune up a linebacker or chip a defensive end. If you're going to get the quarterback annihilated, it's like, well, he's great in the screen game. Yeah, so is Javonte Barnes. So is Gavin Sawchuk. Does he give you that much more? Not right now. That's not Adrian Peterson back there. Stop talking like he is. That's not who that is. That's okay. That's fine. I just wanted us to figure out some sort of Samaj P. Ron Joe mix back there. Maybe it's still there. Maybe it's Sawchuk and it's Javonte. But that certainly is not the offense that they've been running. Okay? It's really going to come down to Seth Luttrell, Jackson Arnold being on the same page, feeding Deion Burks as much as you possibly can, and getting anything out of the run game. Anything. Because if you can make Tennessee respect you running the football and you can push people off, then you can do some things. And maybe that's the case. Maybe that is a thing that people will be able to do. I will be fascinated. I will be. Before I get to talking about Arch Mania in Texas, remind you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button right now if you like the show. That is the best way to show us the love, show us you like what we're doing. Get into those comments. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. If you disagree with something, that's fine. I don't care that you disagree with me. You ain't got to agree with everything I say. Approach it with a level of reverence, level of respect, and I will too. So, Quinn Ewers ain't playing against ULM. And that ain't no shock, okay? Quinn Ewers goes down with an abdominal strain, basically can't throw the ball without pain, against UTSA. Arch Manning comes in and lights the world on fire. 9 of 12, 223 with a 67-yard rushing TD, 5 total TDs. Breakout performance for a dude that we all thought was good. People are going, his last name is Manning. No, he's the number 1 overall recruit in the class of 2023, okay? Start there. And you've seen it now. It's on tape. He can spin it, and he can run with it. He gives you every opportunity to win. And against a ULM team that I ranked dead last to start the season, you don't need Quinn Ewers. You don't need him. And I've said from the jump, what do you have behind him? Because, and I was right about this, he has not played an entire season healthy. Happens for a third year. He's not healthy to play the entire year. Malik Murphy was the answer last year. It was hit or miss there. This year, it's Arch Manning. It's all hit there. So much so that people are already asking two things. First one is, if Quinn Ewers were not to play the rest of the year, hypothetical, he's going to play, I'm sure of it, would he be a first-round quarterback? Yes, because the emphasis is on quarterback. We will draft quarterbacks in the first round that ain't first-round talents because that is how important the position is at every level, especially the National Football League. So much so that you watch the NFL the last couple of weeks, you can count on maybe 3 fingers the quarterbacks that you genuinely believe are elite, that you genuinely believe are great. Everybody else has a flaw or feels cooked. You know, Russell Wilson can't beat out Justin Fields, but I could have told you that when Justin was at Ohio State. Justin Fields is the most underrated quarterback in NFL history for me. It's somehow he got to Chicago and he did what they asked him to do, and I'm hearing about Tyson Bagent. All right? Y'all seen what Caleb Williams was doing at quarterback for the Bears, and tell me how Justin was doing. Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy. Caleb Williams was the most surefire number 1 pick that we have seen since Trevor Lawrence, since Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying? And he is struggling at Chicago. Justin was able to do something. He's 2-0 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and instead of people going, damn, the Steelers might have something, it's fake. It's fake. Are you kidding? He's in a battle with a dude that won a Super Bowl, and he outperforms him. What are we doing with this? Y'all really need to get up off of Justin, man, because between Justin and C.J. Stroud, those 2 Ohio State quarterbacks in general, in particular, 2 dudes I love, period. And both of them are great. It's just, can you build to them? You know what I'm saying? So because, how did I get to this? I got to this by talking about quarterbacks in the first round. You look around, you see Bo Nix get drafted. Quinn Ewers is a better quarterback than Bo Nix, full stop. It's true. Did he run a better offense? Maybe. Depends on who you're talking to at Oregon, frankly. Yeah, I saw what Bo Nix did at Auburn, and it was nothing and nada. 0. Then he goes to the Pac-12, and he is throwing for 4,400 yards with 40-plus TDs and like 4 interceptions. I got to tell you, playing quarterback in the SEC, it's a little bit more difficult to play quarterback in the Pac-12. You know who else I can point to for that? Caleb friggin' Williams. Caleb friggin' Williams won the Heisman Trophy at USC, lighting the world up. Gets to the Chicago Bears, and all of a sudden, hey, it's going to take him a little while to figure it out. Hell yeah, it's going to take him a little while to figure it out. It would take everybody a little while to figure it out. That's why we call it figuring it out. You know, Trey Lance gets drafted in the first damn round. Mac Jones gets drafted in the first damn round. Yes, Quinn Ewers would get drafted in the first damn round. Garrett Nussmeier, too. Carson Beck, too, whether or not you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot would have to come apart for this crop of quarterbacks to not go where we think they're going to go. It would just have to happen. I just don't see it. Dillon Gabriel might end up getting the Kenny Pickett of this 2025 class because he's just been playing college football forever. Do you realize that all Dillon Gabriel got to do is put up the numbers this year that Bo Nix did last year to become the NCAA's all-time career passing leader, passing Case Keenum? And if I was Case Keenum, I would feel some kind of way about that because Dillon Gabriel been playing a year longer than me. Feels unfair? Yeah. Speaking of unfair, Oklahoma State has a 7th-year quarterback. Utah has a 7th-year quarterback. They're going to play each other on ranked teams. I don't know what you call that except professional football. To all the people talking about, man, I hate the way the college football is going. You mean the way it's been? We got pros now. We got 24, 25-year-olds playing quarterback, dog. Get out of here. Cam McCormick's in his 9th year at Miami, and we're celebrating it. I mean, good for him, you know what I'm saying? Get in where you fit in. But let's not act like dudes ain't playing forever in college because they can get paid to play in college. Got back to kind of Arch, right? So, Arch could play anywhere. Arch could have gone anywhere. Arch could have gone to Georgia. Arch could have gone to Clemson. Arch could have gone to Ohio State. Arch could have gone to Tennessee. Could have gone to Ole Miss. You know what I'm saying on that? Right? I'm saying? But he didn't. He went to Texas because he's always wanted to go to Texas. Authenticity coming through. That's number 1. Number 2 is he is in no hurry to be the guy. He said, look, I thought about it. And then I remembered I really like being at the University of Texas. I like going to school here. I like being on this team. I like my teammates. I'll wait. I'll be here ready. I'll continue to work. And I love what Steve Sarkisian had to say about this because he's been able to put a lid on all of this from the very beginning. And what he said was, Arch is just another guy on our team. And the reason I'm able to say that is because of who Arch is every day. He is the selfless teammate. He cares about the guys on the team. He cares about Quinn. They've got a great relationship. He works his tail off. He wants to play good football for them because he knows how hard everybody's working. So I literally don't address it with him. I don't address it with the team. He's just part of the team. That is a football coach's wet dream. That right there. A dude that you ain't got to talk into, hey, settle down. Just do what we ask you to do, and everything will work out. Usually, you got to have that conversation with most of the great players on your team, especially now, because dudes are in a hurry. Why are they in a hurry? Some people want to say it's because they're afraid of being competitive. They're afraid of being pushed. I don't think that's it. I really don't. Some people say it's about money. Maybe that's it. I mean, all of us got a price, and some of us got bills to pay. That ain't Arch. Arch ain't got bills to pay. Arch is fine. Arch got to just go to college. Got to play football. That's it. Rest of us, we might not be able to make that decision. Sometimes you just got to go where the money is because that's what your situation demands, right? Don't begrudge anybody that. Go get it. Go get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm always telling the kiddos, you better go get this money. You know what I'm saying? The thing that I would stress about guys that need to get talked into, hey, give me some time here, or you're good, just give me some time here, I promise it's going to be worth it, are the guys that need to play football. One of the things that we underrate about this caliber of football player is that they have been playing football competitively forever. They don't know what it is to practice and then not play. That is the reward. We've been teaching that since they were in Pee Wee. We teach them if you practice well and you perform well in practice, you will play. You will play, and you will play significantly. And when you are a star player, it's easy for a coach to do that because you get to say, we're going to run the offense through that person, or that person's our best defender. We're going to build around that. Sometimes those guys get to play both ways. So you're asking them to give all of that up for 1, 2, sometimes 3 years so that you can work your system. That's a heavy ask for a lot, man. It's not just an ego check because it is that. It's not just a character check because it is that. It is about sitting on your hands and twiddling your thumbs, chomping at the bit to get after it. I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like. I like to perform. I love to do this show. It's much fun for me. You know what I'm saying? And the more I do it, the better I get at it, right? The better I get at understanding what it means to host a show, right? What it means to keep things on task. And frankly, a lot of my peers can't do this. They cannot host the show, carry the show by themselves. That's not shade. It's just about talent. Same thing is about being able to throw a football 80 yards. Some people can do it. Some people can't. Some people are, quite frankly, Josh Allen. They can do things physically that the rest of us can't. And then some people are Chad Pennington. Some people are Rich Gannon. All of those can be starters and play. But asking that guy to not play is one of the hardest things you have to do in the world. And I got to give it up to Arch on that front. Because it would be very easy for the number one player in the 2023 class, who's also a quarterback, to say, nope, to hell with this. I'm going to go to LSU. Man, they would have lost their minds if Arch went to LSU. They would have broke the bank, man. They would not be playing about about a Manning at LSU. For those of y'all who don't know, Archie Manning, Archie's granddaddy, is a legend in New Orleans for how he played quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. The best player on some really crappy teams, right? Love that man. He made his home New Orleans. He raised his boys in New Orleans. They went to Isidore Newman in New Orleans. They ain't getting no Manning to come to LSU. They went to Ole Miss. They went to Tennessee, and they've gone to Texas. They would have lost their minds if they could have got Arch to come to LSU. But he followed his heart. He went to Texas, so that's where he's at. And I think he has another opportunity against ULM to really go put up some cool numbers. Now, on top of that, you get to give him that experience if you're Steve Sarkisian. You get to say, hey, look, not only did you purport yourself well against UTSA. We trust you enough to go handle this thing when Quinn has been ruled as questionable, but really you just want to give that man as much rest as you can to go win us a football game against another FBS opponent. That in and of itself is a reward. I choose to see that as a cool thing. In as far as the Arch Mania is concerned, it's really going to be up to him, right? Because this is a dude that doesn't seek spotlight, doesn't seek cameras, doesn't need to be heard. Unlike his peers, doesn't have a YouTube channel, ain't really on the tweets, ain't really on the Instagrams, ain't really on the TikToks. He want to play ball. Again, another football coach's wet dream. We are going to try to push that, right? Because we want to see him play, and he's fun to talk about. He really is. He's a lot of fun to talk about. And he's a big story that people care about. The way that I put this in a piece that I did for Fox is he is to football fans what Taylor Swift is to the known universe. Like, we're really geeking about him, and we really think that dude's cool. And I can't wait to watch him play football full time because I think it's going to be a lot of fun because it was a whole hell of a lot of fun to watch him play against a UTSA team that they were outclassing. It's just that much fun. It is also representative of what people claim to love about college football that is going away. The money is not that important to him. Being able to be a part of a team he loves, on a team that's ranked number 1 in the country now, that's the dream. Man, that's going to be underplayed. But do you realize that Arch Manning is going to be the first quarterback since 2008 to start at Texas with the number 1 ranking pinned to Texas? Hello? I don't know. Did anybody else point that out? Did anybody else point out that the last time that Texas was the number 1 team in the country, Arch's mans, the guy that he really liked to be, Colt McCoy, was the quarterback at Texas? I need y'all to, I need people to get on that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be Quinn. It's going to be Arch. No matter what you say, that is one cool fact that you get to put on your resume forever. Started at quarterback, number 1 Texas. Forever and ever. You know, that's just cool. You know, I choose to believe that that's a very cool thing. All right. Again, want to remind y'all, if you do not subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the channel. I've been hearing from people here lately who've been like, damn, I've been watching this show for years. I ain't hit the subscribe button. That's on me, dog. It happens. Hit the subscribe button. Help me out. Watch the show. We do the clips if you can't catch the live show. So you get what you want. Try to group these things as according to teams so that people can watch the part that they are most interested in. Or if you like hanging out with me, that's what this is, right? We hanging out, we talking. One of the things that made it across my desk is what Lane Kiffin had to say about Wake Forest. And first of all, I'm like, why is Lane talking about Wake Forest at all? Didn't they just stop a mud hole in them and walk you dry? 40-6, that game's over. I mean, I watched Jackson Dart go flying across the goal line, get his helmet popped off. Then he takes off his helmet, and they go through a personal foul penalty on him for unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm like, man, referees, y'all losing y'all minds on this one, dog. Y'all be throwing flags for the stupidest stuff. And it's like, well, that's in the rule book. Well, take it the hell up out the rule book. He got tattooed. He took off his helmet, and you gonna pull him. All right, cool, fine. So after stomping a mud hole in Wake Forest and walking it dry, Wake Forest responded to getting wrecked. Or I shouldn't say responded to getting wrecked. Before they got wrecked, Lane Kiffin got a call from John Curry in which he said, hey, we're going to cancel the game with y'all next year when we're supposed to go to the Grove, and we're going to pay you $1 million for the cancellation. Okay? Lane caught an attitude about this righteously. You don't cancel that kind of game 1 year away because now you put Ole Miss into a bind. Because the SEC doesn't like us talking about them putting money in the bag, and they certainly don't like us talking about them playing a cupcake schedule. So they mandate that you got to play X amount of non-conference games against Power 4 opponents as a part of your schedule. And this year, the Power 4 opponent that was on Ole Miss's schedule is Wake Forest. They played Memphis before that, and they played Furman before that. So FCS, Group of 5 to Power 4. Basically how they had it sewn up for next year too. Except Wake Forest looked at the beating that they got or were going to get and the beating that they might take at the Grove and said, nah, we don't want to do that. So now Ole Miss is going to have to seek a waiver or find another Power 4 opponent when everybody else has already got it. They got their dance card filled up. There's nobody else to really go get. You're going to have to really work at it to fulfill that obligation. I think the SEC is going to look on this kindly if it comes to that. But you got to make the effort to try to go find somebody else to put in that slot. And Vanderbilt is already in your conference. You can't just go get Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? Maybe go talk to Virginia Tech. Maybe they know something. But Wake Forest has kind of been quiet on this, leaving many of us to draw the conclusion that the Demon Deacons are not only running from a whooping, but paid a 7-figure sum not to fight. This is America. We don't look kindly on running from a butt kicking. We don't do that. As a matter of fact, one of my things that people want to pull me back on is, RJ, you got to stop calling people cowards. Well, people got to stop being cowards. We don't do that. If you're going to catch a whooping, catch the whooping. We're going to say, hey, yeah, you got beat down. We're going to make memes. We're going to make funnies. But it's nothing worse than not showing up to the fist fight. Man, I looked at Mr. Jones on this one. Mr. Jones found Craig had a gun and said, what do you need that for? And he lied about it. He said, I got to walk Smokey to his house. And it became message, in the Keenan Ivory Wayans way of, y'all are scared to take a butt whooping. It used to be, hey, look, man, all you needed was your hands. You win some, you lose some. That's how this goes. And then we get to see Craig get into a fist fight with Debo and then bomb at his skull with a brick, and we all felt it. That's what we wanted. Wake Forest also gave up an opportunity. It gave up an opportunity for Demon Deacon fans to experience the Grove, which I got to tell y'all, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to be at Ole Miss on Saturdays for game day. It's fun. And gave up an opportunity for Dave Clawson's program to go get a signature W against the team we expect to be really good next year. Now, they'll lose a lot, but we still expect them to be good. And maybe that is the kind of win that vaults Wake Forest into a national conversation, not unlike it did a couple years ago when they were in the top 10. I just don't get that. And I certainly don't get not saying anything about it. Imagine being an ACC fan, or I should say, a fan in the ACC. Nobody's fan of conferences except folks in the SEC. Fan in the ACC, and have to live with fans in the SEC knowing that an ACC program is running scared. You're going to be embarrassed over that. I would be. I don't like that. If they on your schedule, go play them. Like, that's what it is. You draw the short straw. Okay. But I think Deacon Illustrated publisher Connor O'Neill got this one right. So I'll quote him in his column for Tuesday. And I think it's worth this, right? That's why I'm giving it the space. He's there. He understands. He knows what this means. He's looking for reasons as to know why. We can speculate that Clawson and Curry don't want to deal with the headache that comes with playing a well-funded SEC juggernaut, though the headache for what this story has become should dwarf that. We can speculate that Wake Forest has something else lined up, something against a like-minded program like Northwestern, though that's not likely to be a moneymaker traveling to a temporary stadium that seats 15,000. We can speculate until Wake's secondary gets through a game without a blown coverage. The silence is now the issue. We know every detail worth knowing that Wake Forest paid $1 million to remove itself from Ole Miss's schedule, leaving the SEC program in the lurch for a non-conference game in less than a year, and removing the only non-conference game that moves the interest needle from its own schedule. An explanation of why is all that's required. Maybe it'll come in the form of a press release or an interview from a newsletter called From the Quad. But 60 hours later, yet nothing. And I think that's a really great way to put it. You owe an explanation on this. You got to tell somebody something. Because the conclusions that we are drawing now is you are simply not willing to go get your behind kicked. And that's just not football. That's not football. Football is fist fight. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is lining up from a man across from you, and he's going to try to move you. You're going to try to move him. And at the end of that, you shake on it. Football starts with Walter Camp going, we need to simulate trench warfare. Football is about being William Wallace on a horse. Where are you going? I'm going to pick a fight. If you're Wake Forest, hell yeah, you want that game. I would want that game. You know what I'm saying? Like this Tennessee one for Oklahoma. It ain't looking that great, but I still want that game, and I still get goosebumps thinking about it because, hey, nothing charges me up more than knowing that people are picking against me, and then I get to drag somebody into the deep water. One of my heroes, Steve Prefontaine. I ran track at the University of Tulsa. I run 5Ks in my age group. Sometimes I win. That man used to say, I have to front run because anything else is me not living up to my talent and my gift and my potential. I have to give it everything. I owe that. The second thing you say is, I hate having these people leech off of me and then outkick me to the end. But the last thing that he would say that I hold on to is, I hope it's an all-guts race because then I'm the only person that can win it. Those of y'all that have been around this show for a long time know I'm a try-hard. You gonna have this all day with me. I wear people out all the time. And this is both the strength and a weakness. I'm going to be at the table. I'm going to be here for as long as it takes. As long as it takes to get to where we need to go. Other people will quit. In football, that is a place where I come to find out it does matter what your effort is. Yes, sometimes you're just not going to have the talent to go beat up on people. That is what it is. But as I have said many times, I'm 5'5", 135, and I've been in this weight class for the better part of 15 years, and anybody is welcome to try me. That's what I say. I'm 3-3 in pro fights. What about you? That's what I'm saying. You know, it's are we doing this or are we not doing this? But what you're not going to see from me is tap, tap, I don't want none of that. You know, like I'm probably the lunatic in this because I'm looking at Post Malone in the Roadhouse movie when Jake Gyllenhaal takes off his shirt going, I'm not fighting that guy. I'm like, yeah, I'll fight him. We already said we're going to do this, so let's go do this. Go out like you came in. But then again, I'm the guy with the Lambda shield tattooed on him, and I'm the guy with Aristea tattooed on me and Invictus tattooed on me. And one of the reasons I wear the long shirts is because tattoos can sometimes turn people off, but I got 27 tattoos, dog. That's how I live, right? That's the only way I know how to live. So when I see things like this, I feel for folks like Connor O'Neal, feel for folks that are Demon Deek fans. Nobody wants to be embarrassed on national television. Nobody wants to take these sorts of bad L's. But I think that is way better than not showing up to fight in the first place. Speaking of not showing up to fight in the first place, Nebraska feels like a legitimate college football playoff contender. And the reason I say that is they can get to 7-0 before they play Ohio State. They lose that game, okay. But if they win 10 games, 10 of their first 12, right, or 10 of 12, it's going to be difficult to keep them out because the SEC is going to get 4 teams in, I think, 3 at a minimum, and I think the Big Ten can get 3 or 4. But what I find to be interesting about this, as Nebraska is getting an opportunity to play against Illinois on what has become a sneaky good Friday night matchup at home, 2 things on this. A, your man Dylan Raiola is good. He's not great. He's good. But he ain't got to be great. He's just got to be good. And good is good enough. He's not throwing the ball away. He's not turning the ball over. And he is running the offense, which has allowed for them to throw the ball effectively and run the ball effectively. Number 2, the defense is good. Tony White's 3-3 stack is working. They're not allowing people to score. They are bending but not breaking. They are getting home when they choose to come after people. And they've got defensive backs that can run and make plays. Look at what Tommy Hill did with that interception return for a touchdown against Colorado. Now, Northern Iowa was not Colorado, no matter what anybody wants to tell you, okay? UTEP, that's not indicative of the kind of teams they're going to place in the Big Ten. Illinois, it's a really good challenge. Illinois is a good football team. Are they a great football team? No, but I think if you're going to achieve the height of saying being in the conversation to be one of those 12 teams that's selected, you're going to have to get this win against Illinois on Friday. What I would like to say to some Nebraska fans, not all, some, is don't come to me defending a win. If I am picking at parts of you that feel flawed, right, like playing the second stringers and giving up points, like throwing a ball deep and it getting picked off for whatever reason, you ain't got to defend that. Nobody is coming for Nebraska. Everybody wants Nebraska to be good. Just like I want Arkansas to be good. I think that if you got a program that's not unlike mine, where you are in a state that does not have an NFL franchise, but you have been playing great college football for a very long time, I want you to win. I want you to be great. I am on your team. So I don't understand this new breed of Nebraska fan that feels like they're not being taken seriously enough or that we are hoping too much for them. You can't have it both ways. Either you want to be taken seriously, which means you want to be taken seriously as a team that's competing for championships, and Nebraska damn sure ought to be competing for championships, or you do not want us to talk well about you. Can't have it both ways. I choose to look at Nebraska and go, what's your ceiling? I don't believe your ceiling is 6-6. I don't believe your ceiling is 7-5. Not after what I've seen through 3 games. I do believe your ceiling is making the playoff. Do I think you're going to win the Big Ten championship? No. Do I think you're going to win the national championship? Not this year. Do I think that you are in a really, really cool place where it has become easy to talk about what Matt Rule has done and what he's capable of doing, where it has become easy to talk about a true freshman quarterback who's simply operating the offense and that being enough, where it is easy to give Nebraska fans who have gone out of their way to fill up that stadium for like 69 consecutive years reason to believe. Like, one of the things that I think is interesting about this sellout streak that Nebraska's on is they had to shell out some money to make it work. Remember a couple years ago, Scott Frost toward the end, they're playing Fordham, and people were like, A, we suck. B, I'm not showing up to see us beat up on Fordham. What am I going to pay tickets for that? I'm not doing that. They had donors that bought out the tickets so they could still keep the sellout streak because that's how important it was. It was, hey, this is an investment in the future. I know that it sucks that I'm asking you to buy up the rest of these tickets right now, but we're going to need this sellout streak to sell later on down the line. We promise it's going to get better. And they've been through another athletic director before they got back to this place. Trev Albert left, and he won't get the credit for putting this place on a good space before leaving to go to A&M because that's not how these things work. But Trev Albert put this thing into motion, and Troy Dannon, who's coming from Washington, where they just, national title runner-up, knows not to fix what ain't broken, and also knows that Nebraska's in a unique place, not unlike Tennessee, to start making some money and to start facilitating for their name, image, and likeness. You just got to win. And I think, given what we have seen, and given what Nebraska has shown themselves to be capable of, Nebraska is going to have a road to being nationally a national power the rest of the way because Nebraska's going to invest in their football program, and there is no salary cap. There is no level amount of money that you are not allowed to spend. And that is when I think this is going to get interesting. You have seen some programs that have been shying away from name, image, and likeness. Let me tell you something. The programs that have gone in are good. Missouri created a model that other people emulate. The reason that they emulate that model is because Missouri is the number 6 team in the country. Full stop. Because Missouri won 11 games last year. It beat Ohio State, depleted Ohio State, but Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Memphis, get $25 million in name, image, and likeness, goes down to Florida State and beats them 20-12. Look around. Look at the programs like Tennessee, like Oklahoma, like Ohio State, like Texas, who have made name, image, and likeness a big part of who they are now, and you will see them having a straight trajectory toward trying to win national championships. And you know what? If you don't want to be good at football, there's no shame in that. That's okay. Just say that. You can't have a football program and just have it, on the doorstep. It's going to cost you too much. That is a very expensive front porch to a university if it ain't getting nobody on the front porch. You got to have somebody go out there and do some winning. And if that's not what you want to do or you don't have the financial backing to do that, be that way. You know what I'm saying? Do that. But Nebraska's not one of them. Nebraska wants to win. Nebraska needs to win. So I think they can make the college football playoff. A couple other things that I want to get into that I think are fascinating and interesting. The math ain't mathing for Billy Napier at Florida. They are winless, guys, in the Power Four. Last 7 games. Billy Napier's lost his last 7 against Power Four conference opponents. Winning against Samford ain't going to get it done. That's not, no. We're talking about now a story going up on ESPN about it's not if with Billy Napier, it's when. So much that they lay out, what has been going on. Last year, we saw 5 Power 5 coaches that were fired before the 3rd day of October. It ain't happened yet, but there's still time, okay? And depending on what happens for Florida against a Mississippi State team that got cut down like a high weed in my grandma's rose garden last week, 41-17 to Toledo, putting $1.2 million in the bag to catch that whooping, it could spell bad, real bad, for Billy Napier at Florida. It was pointed out to me that Ron Zook got fired in time for Jeremy Foley to go get Urban Meyer at Florida. Kind of similar here. And it got pointed out that happened after he lost to Mississippi State. Symmetry there. And it's also a number that is gargantuan. It's if you fire Billy this year, it's going to cost you between $26 and $28 million, somewhere in there. So call it 27. It's just a matter of when. But Florida got it. They got that money. You know, would it be the second largest buyout in history? Yeah. But let's not forget, A&M came out by their couch cushions with $76 million to tell Jimbo Fisher, go away. Speaking of paying people to cancel games, no, we will pay you to stop coaching this football team. That's how much we hate it. That is the zone that Billy Napier is playing in. And he's being compared to Dan Mullen because that's the guy he replaced. So people are going out, hey, RJ, Dan lost more games than he won his final year. He went 5-6. He did. Last 11 games, year 4. In year 4. But he won 10 in year 1. He won 11 in year 2. And he won 8 in year 3. It's pretty damn good, especially in the SEC. It's pretty good, okay? Napier hasn't had a winning season at Florida. Not one. And now he is in year 4, the year in which Dan Mullen was told to get out of here. Okay. His resume looks nothing like Dan Mullen's at Florida. But he got this job for what he was able to do at Louisiana. Won 11 games in 2019, won 10 games in 2020, won 12 games in 2021. Again, at Louisiana in the Hustle Belt. Some damn good football being played in the Hustle Belt. And that was a damn good football team. It just ain't translated to what he wanted to do at Florida. The thing that gets me, though, is Billy Napier has DJ Lagway. And it feels like you're going to just have to play him now. Because if you don't play him now, you're probably not going to get a chance to play him next year for reasons that are either he transfers or you're not there. But also, you got to give Florida fans something to believe in. And if they think your relationship with DJ Lagway is that important, you will be here in 2025. Because the quarterback becomes more important than the coach at that point. And it ain't like they got somebody ready-made that can just call plays at Florida. He built that staff where he's the guy calling plays. But it's the defense that's also the problem, right? It's not really what the offense is doing. It's what the defense can't do, which is stop people. I'd also point out that if you are a Florida fan and you've been watching Billy Napier and then you were talking about how you got tired of Dan Mullen and you got tired of Will Muschamp, you got tired of Jim McElwain, you really got to go down the line to Urban Meyer for the last time you felt good about your head coach. So something about how you were going about hiring guys has needed to change. So they did. They went and got Scott Strickland from Mississippi State, who had Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. So when you're forced to part the coach from the athletic director, you might have to part the athletic director from the school. And they got an interim president right now anyway. A guy that people respect down there in Kent Fuchs, but interim, you know. And we got lots of moving and shaking at the presidential and the athletic department level all across the country. Matter of fact, president at Rutgers just announced he ain't going to be back. Okay? It's like that. Pittsburgh, their athletic director to interview for a number of jobs, they said she going to get up out of here. There's lots of moving and shaking. Ross Bjork went from being an AD at A&M to the AD at Ohio State. Trev Albert from Nebraska to A&M. Troy Dannon from Washington to Nebraska. Jen Cohen from Washington to USC. I need y'all to talk more about the transfers that are happening at AD levels. Less about the kids, less about the portal. Your AD going into the portal, okay? Something needs to change over there. This is why the Danny White, Josh Heupel thing is important. Both of those guys have been in lockstep. Danny White was Central Florida athletic director, got that job at Tennessee, went to go get Josh Heupel. Okay? Travis Goff, who I think is one of the most phenomenal athletic directors in the sport today, he got his hire right immediately. He went to Lance Leipold, a dude he knew from winning, and said, what do you need? Let's build it together. And what they're building in KU is awesome. So much so that, realize this, KU is 1-2, and we're mad about it. We're upset about it. When is the last time that you were able to look at Kansas, the University of Kansas, and say, damn, I'm mad that they lost more games than they won through week 3? No, you've never said that. And they're playing at Sporting KC. They're playing at Arrowhead. They got this huge project that they're building around David Booth that's going to be such a big part of their identity because they got the athletic director right and they got the coach right, and they're not messing with that. So if you do that at Florida, you better make sure that the next AD gets to hire his guy. And I've already heard that people think Florida can't go get another guy out the Sun Belt. I'm going, why the hell not? They need a name. Why? No. Who would you go get? Who's out there to go get? Well, I'll be looking at Ohio State. Get out of here, man. You already counting on that man to lose that game in Michigan, so you go get him to Florida? Get out of here. Well, we're a desirable university. Hell yeah, you are. You're the University of Florida. You're the flagship. Guess you were desirable. It also was a high price to pay for not winning. Florida is a program that wants to operate like Ohio State and Georgia, but hasn't. Okay? That ain't been you in the 2010s. Something got to change over there. So if you can go get G.J. Kinney from Texas State, do it. If you can go get Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, do it. If you can go get Brendan Marion from UNLV, do it. You are a desirable spot. You should have your choice of who you want to go get, but let's not be stupid. You know what I'm saying? Let's not go, I wonder what Nick Saban or Urban are doing. Why? They're doing their jobs. They ain't coaching. Go get somebody that really still has to want this. Still really wants to have to go get this. And that is not an easy thing to identify in 2024. One of the things that genuinely upsets me about what I do, and frankly what some of my peers that have gone into coaching do, is how much people will whine about what they don't want to do. They don't want to do social. They don't want to do TikTok. They don't want to talk to name, image, and likeness. They don't want to do donor collectives. They don't want to do caravans. They don't want to do. I did not work my behind off to get to this spot to be talking about what I don't want to do. Okay? It's not how that goes. Kenny Dillingham is an example of this. G.J. Kinney is an example of this. Brendan Marion is an example of this. You work your behind off to get the chance to go run something and do something your way because this is what you dreamed about since you were a very small child. That's how that goes, man. So if that ain't what that person is fired up to go do, you need to go find somebody else. I'm telling you, man, if you no longer want to be a head coach, start saying that, because if the money is too big for you to leave, then I get that, but it's going to show in the work. It's going to show in you have a hard time getting out of bed. When you start looking at functions that have black tie affair on them and you saying you don't want to go, you in the wrong profession. I have no misgivings about that. When you start talking about traveling is hard, you're in the wrong profession. And especially in my job, that's one of the ways in which people are saying you're doing a good job. They send you out to go do stuff, you know? That's one of those things. Or they put your name on a show. That's one of those things. If you're a head coach, be a head coach. It's one of the reasons I ride for Sam Pittman at Arkansas. I know there's a lot of Arkansas fans that feel some kind of way about needing to come from behind and beat UAB, and I get that. Some kind of Arkansas fans that feel some kind of way about what Sam Pittman may or may not be able to do, and I get that. But the thing that I know to be true about Sam is he really, really wants that job. And he wanted the job bad enough to go get a guy to call the offense that frankly had done a better job as head coach than he has so far, according to resume, and for which many people think might be stepping in later. So what? So be it. He wants to be the head coach at the University of Arkansas. Honor that. And if you get tired of that and you think you got to go win, then go with God. You know, this is still an Arkansas fan base that's got at least one donor who told John Calipari, how much does it cost? I heard things are not going well at the University of Kentucky. How much does it cost? I will pay it. Because that's what they did. So now John Calipari is probably going to return Arkansas back to being a Final Four team perennially, I hope, because I like John Calipari. Matter of fact, sidebar to the sidebar. I used to host a show in Tulsa on the Sports Animal, 9 to 11. Did it like I do this show. Looked very much similar. It's the same show mostly. I will never forget Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got traded to OKC. This is before he was MVP Shai, or the guy that we thought could win the MVP. This was just a dude. Because we're going, really? KD leaves, Russ leaves, and now this? So I sent out an email like I normally do, trying to book guests for the show. And I sent it to John Calipari's SID at Kentucky. And it was over the summer, right? Because that's when that trade happened. And I was told by the SID, hey, look, he's on vacation, but I'll pass it along and we'll see, what happens. I said, cool. If it happens, I appreciate that. If not, no harm, no foul. I just wanted to ask. Do you know that John Calipari called into my show from holiday in Greece? The man was in Greece. He got on the phone with me, and he started telling me what OKC was getting in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We all have these moments where you come to just really like a guy, where you really come to like a person because of what they were able to do for you that may not have been that much of a big deal to them at the time, or maybe they just had time, but you hold on to that. That's who John Calipari has come for me. Sam Pittman on the show, same difference. He decided he wanted to do this show. I choose to honor that, and I choose to look at those guys and go, no, that dude really wants to do the job. He's still talking to the guy in Tulsa about the NBA team in OKC because he once had a player a few years ago that played for him at Kentucky while he's on vacation. That's called selling the program. And now you get me. You've got me who talks about sports on the regular, on the radio, going, nope, John Calipari got to do a lot wrong for me not to like that dude. Because in all the ways that it seems to matter, good man. And I root for good men. I really do. I root for good men. Good men don't always win. As a matter of fact, good men got a terrible record for losing, myself included. But I root for them because it is one thing to be able to control the outcome, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But you can always control how you go through it. You go through it with a level of integrity, you're going to have me. To that end, that's what Billy Napier is doing. He is going through this with a level of integrity that is showing, his values are on display. His values are on display. I am getting to understand how important that is because at a certain threshold, money's not the thing anymore. It's, are you getting a level of respect that you think that you have earned? And are you providing for people what you claim to? Like, coach speak is usually, hey, we're trying to make good men. That's a lot of money to just be making good men, or that's how we think of it, right? Because the money is such a big deal to many of us. But once you get to their level and you are financially secure and you got generational wealth, it has to be about that. It has to be about something that is not immediately tangible. It has to be, I think, the same as it is for many of my high school teachers, one in particular, a couple in particular, my coaches, who get to point at me and others and go, no, we did a good job. And I get to tell them, you did a good job. I would not be here if not for this. That's what it's got to be about. Just being a football coach, people get to tie you directly to the result. So if 13 guys get drafted at the University of Michigan last year, that's Jim Harbaugh making his effect known for what he's putting out in the NFL. But what they will tell you is, I really enjoy my graduation rate. I really enjoy being able to talk to a new father about what it means. You're going to be up. You're going to be changing diapers. This is where you go to get good diapers. Hey, I found that diapers on sale. By the way, the Diaper Network has become one of my favorites. If you know somebody that is going through it, one of the cool things you can do for any new parent is go get a whole bunch of diapers. And as a dude that's changed more than his fair share, I'm telling you, nothing like being able to look around going, damn, am I out of diapers? I can't be out of diapers. No. A, diapers are expensive. B, you need them when you need them. And they become things that you just have around. Like you keep them in the backpack, you keep them in the car, you keep them in the purse, because somebody somewhere is going to use the bathroom when ain't no bathroom to use, and you're going to have to make it happen, baby. You're going to have to be in the back seat with that child on your good upholstery, making it happen. I'm trying to tell y'all, I'll be out here absolutely riding for the new parents. So when I get to see a coach that gets to put some of that experience into a new parent that's on his team, I get lit up because that's what it is. You know, they be talking about leader of men. Being a good follower of a leader of men is also important. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't going to be everybody's opportunity to lead. It's not. Sometimes you're going to have to get on with the program, like what Archie's doing at Texas. That's what that means, right? You got to know how to follow. You have to know how to apprentice. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Ryan Day give an interview. I want to say this on Russillo's show. But he was talking about how there is no school for coaching. you have to apprentice to get to the job that he wants to do. And you got to give up a lot to get to where you're going. And your family has to be on board. And all these things that have to be sacrificed that I think the older I get, the more I seem to cherish. Because when I'm a teenager and I'm first getting started in this job, the last thing I want to hear somebody talk to me about is what they family got to go through to be where they are. Because I'm thinking, I don't know, man. Sounds like money's going to cure a lot of those ills. Damn, moving sucks, but you getting paid more everywhere you go. It does take its toll, man. Kids want to go to school with their friends. Kids want to put down roots. Hell, I want to put down roots. One of the reasons that I love staying in Tulsa. It's a luxury, right? You got to start somewhere, and sometimes that means you got to move around. So at the end of that, you have to be the kind of person that is not looking at the scoreboard as often as you're looking at the players on the field and go, is he okay? Is his family okay? Am I doing right by him? That is part of the process. And it becomes a luxury because if you're Nick Saban, you win it all the time. So you can focus on the process. You ain't got to focus on the result. It's only when the results start going bad for us that we start to focus on them and almost solely on outcomes. And I will point this out. Nick Saban was a middling to sorry head coach until he got to LSU. He got it right going to Michigan State. Then he took the job at LSU. And then his star started to sail. But it was 1970 he got into this profession. He didn't start winning games consistently for 25 years, and he didn't get to be a head coach until the late 80s. He was on everybody else's staff. That is important. He is a man that had to go through the process. The process meant that he was taking a lot of L's along the way so that he could have this magical end to his career. Because by the time he got to Alabama, he had it figured out. He had figured out what it took to win. He had figured out he is not an NFL coach. And he had figured out what his system needed to look like. Some of it seems to be very simple, but that's only because he went through it and showed it to us. That stuff is hard. It's really difficult to believe in the process when all you're doing is taking L's. So much so that you're going to be looking at the process going, maybe the process is broken. Your process has to be that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it has to be. I want to talk a little bit about Michigan before we get out of here because they're a fascinating program. Earlier this week, Sharon Moore just came out and said Alex Orji is going to start against USC, which is huge because that means you're moving off of Davis Warren and moving on to Alex Orji, which means that Sharon Moore is admitting he made a mistake in who he picked to start week 1. Okay? He didn't come out and say that, but that's how you got to read it. Warren had thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 games. So how did he win the job in the first place if he was, throwing the ball away? According to Moore, Orji got outperformed in camp by Warren. Warren outperformed him in camp. But the way I look at this is, and it took me a while to get on this because I am a tryhard and I practice like hell. Not all good practice players are good game time performers, and not all good game time performers are good practice players. Sometimes you get both, and that's awesome when you do. Some guys can only show up when it's time to show up. I don't think that's good or bad the older I get. I think that's just recognizing what it is. And Alex Orji might well be that person. But we know that they haven't had a quarterback at Michigan because they've been playing both. And if you're playing both, maybe the guy that you are starting is not the guy you should be going with because the guy that you're bringing in is doing all the special stuff. Running the football, right? Rolling out. Things that are more or less difficult for many quarterbacks to do. Reading the defense. Or maybe not needing to make the read because Alex Orji can make the one read and go. And then you get to open this thing up. But it also means that you only had Davis Warren and Alex Orji, and depending on how far you want to go back, Jack Tuttle, to look at. Why? That's because Sharon Moore, who was the head coach in February, decided not to go into the transfer portal when it opened. Didn't think there was anything there for Michigan to go get, and Michigan didn't even look. So as I was talking about guys that could go into the NFL draft, there are a couple of players that I just didn't mention because I want to get here. Cam Ward was available. Michigan, you could have made a run at him. Dylan Gabriel was available. Michigan, you could have made a run at him. Will Howard at Ohio State was available. Instead, we are looking at Sharon going, Damn, you would love to have Cade McNamara right now, wouldn't you? It's true. They would love to have a guy that just operates the offense and lets Wink Martindale's defense go to work. But they ain't got that. So now they're going to start Alex Orji against USC. And it is wildly important what they do in that game because the optics of a win against a nationally ranked USC on Saturday can change this all up. Because you go from being 2-1 to 3-1 with your only loss coming to the number 1 team in the country, Texas. But a loss by Michigan to USC relegates you to life in the before times. No CFP, no Big Ten title. Basically back to life before the plague. Okay? Life before Connor Stallions started making a dent. And that is a difficult place to work from. Now, Sharon Moore signed a 5-year contract, so I don't think anybody's going to get up off of Sharon Moore. I think he's going to make it to next year, regardless of what happens this year. They could lose every game they play the rest of the way. I think he was going to be the head coach next year. However, in signing the 5-year contract, one of the things that was acknowledged in the FOIA request is this termination clause that says, in quotes, as long as the university had actual knowledge of the facts or alleged facts that are the basis for the violation prior to the execution of this agreement by all parties, which at first glance goes, what the hell does that mean? It means did Sharon Moore tell Michigan what he knows, and was he truthful about what he knows? He deleted some text messages that he got from Connor Stallions. They recovered them, sent them back to the NCAA. NCAA already gave him a violation for last year for recruiting, and he could be a repeat offender, which may lead to a show cause, right? We'll see. We don't know what's in the notice of allegations, and we certainly don't know what Michigan's going to send back in response. But we do know that he's facing a level 2 charge from the NCAA for deleting the text messages in the first place. We also know that the notice of allegations was sent in August, and we're waiting on them to get back. This also kind of shields him in a way from whatever litigation might follow. The contract also states that Moore could be subject to disciplinary action, including suspension without pay for violation of NCAA rules. But, at this point, that stuff is boilerplate. I think most of this is going to come down to what do they do on Saturday and what do they do against Ohio State? Because I think after SC, they run into a bunch of games they can win. They do. They really do. Then if you get to November 30th and you look like the kind of program that can challenge a team that needs to win that game more than you do, what do you do? That's going to tell us so much about what Michigan is or isn't for Sharon Moore. I, for selfish reasons, want this man to win. I really do. And I'm going to stand on this because there's some pushback that I get every now and again. He is a black head coach. And that is significant to me. It may not be significant to you. You may not care that he's red, white, blue, green, or orange. But I do. And the reason I do is because I ain't seen no red, blue, green, or orange head coach at the University of Michigan. I've only seen a white one. So for me to see someone who reflects my experience in that spot, it's huge. It's massive. It is the difference between being able to imagine what that would look like and have actual knowledge of what it is. That is not just important to me. It's important to other children that might grow up and, Lord bless them, want to be the head coach of the University of Michigan and be looking at the guys that had that job and go, why don't none of them look like me? Orange children don't have that. Green children don't have that. Red children don't have that. Purple children don't have that. Polka dot. I do. I tend to look at these things and I assign to them. Same reason I want this for Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. Both of them ain't off to the best start for reasons that you know about. You know what I'm saying? Marcus probably needs to figure this out sooner rather than later. Make the playoff, it'll be okay. It will be. But I tend to look at this and I say, yes, it is significant to me that Sharon Moore is the first black head coach at the University of Michigan ever. And it will always be significant to me because pioneers are part of what I was raised around and what I was raised to notice. Okay? It is not, you are a walking, talking Black history fact. And in my world, in my life, with my parents and my grandmother, there is no bigger honor. Like, my grandmother is civil rights royalty. And if you've heard me say this, I'm going to say it again. My grandmother is the jewel of my family. I've written 2 books, both about black experience, and she's in both. Because my grandmother sued the state of Mississippi for voting rights reapportionment, and she won. So I vote because my grandmother sacrificed so much, including her own business, so that I could put a piece of paper into a box. And my grandmother is a walking, she passed. She was a walking, talking Black history fact. You get to be one of those that I'm raised around that. You know, that is a level of Valhalla where I'm from. And if you can't get with that, you can't get with that. No shame, no shade. But when I say it, I need you to know it's coming from me personally. It's not coming from something I feel like I need to do. There is no, quote, woke agenda. There's me telling you what I believe. There's me being authentic and honorable as I speak to you about these things. Because that's the most important part. It really is. So I want him to win. I want him to win because I want to see another opportunity and another opportunity and another opportunity. Endless opportunities. So y'all can have this life you claim you want us all to have where we don't have to focus on this stuff. But until there are no more firsts, that is where my focus is going to be. Thank you for listening to that soapbox. I appreciate it. I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is important to me. We do the live show next Saturday, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I expect you all to be here because it is the biggest game of the season so far for all of us and yours truly. One way or another, I am going to be live and awake. How happy or unhappy I am going to be will be more about what Oklahoma does than what Tennessee does, regardless of the outcome. I have already had friends and acquaintances go, so you going live Saturday night, right? Yeah. Okay. I expect you to because I don't answer my phone. And I don't do none of that. No. I even don't even tweet that much about Oklahoma playing football anymore because I just, no. I need to be contained so I can do this show a little bit later on. All right. That is going to do it for tonight's episode of the #1 college football show with me, RJ Young. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, and I will see y'all on the flip side. Doses.